Hey, Recovery fam. It's Josh with the Unashamed Recovery Podcast. And I just wanted to take a moment this morning to welcome a lot of our newcomers that we've had to our group. Just want to say welcome. I hope you get plugged in. I hope this group is a safe place for you, and I hope that it provides you with a lot of information and a lot of help that you're going to need on your recovery journey. And even if you're not on a recovery journey, I hope this group helps you to better connect with the podcast. And that was kind of what the main purpose of this group was to just be a extra resource for not only our listeners, but for the recovery family, and offering resources or tools to help you in your recovery and spiritual journeys, but also just to help connect with the show, whether that be podcast links, YouTube videos, devotion, any of that kind of stuff. So I hope you get plugged in, connect with one another, and just looking for that just building community. And while I know we have a lot of members in our group that have years of sobriety, you're not a newcomer by no means, you are a veteran. You know, we got people that have got 5, 10, 15 years of sobriety, and that's awesome. Your presence in this group is valuable, and what you can offer to other members is priceless. And we appreciate our veteran recovery members that are being in this group. But while we have several veteran recovery members, we also have a lot of newcomers, and some of those are just now taking those first couple steps, and some of them are still actually in active addiction, trying to figure out those next steps. And so this morning, while I was reading in my devotion, I came across one of the very first ones. It's called The First Step. And I thought, what a coincidence. You know, as I'm sitting here thinking about our newcomers that are inside the group who may not know what that first step looks like. And so I'm reading out of the Celebrate Recovery 365 devotion. And the very first one, John Baker is talking about that first step. And he goes on to say, no one gets to start in the middle. We're all beginners in one area of our lives or another. But for many of us, what we need is more like a new beginning, a fresh start, a walking journey from chaos into wholeness. And that is accomplished one step at a time. And we call that journey recovery. So let's look at that first step. And step one tells us we admitted we were powerless over our addictions and our compulsive behaviors, that our lives had become unmanageable. Our first step is a big one. We are finally ready to admit that we are powerless to control an addiction or a behavior. The harder we try, the more unmanageable it becomes. Our lives have descended into chaos. When we take that first big step, giving up control, we are stepping away from denial, and we are acknowledging our own need. And there is hope in that first step, for we can't be helped until we admit that we need help. And until then, we are trying to be God in our own lives, and we really just aren't up to that task. We are powerless to control much of anything by our own power. And step one allows us to find freedom from ourselves. And I mean, I don't know about y'all, but that speaks to me, because I remember whenever I was in my addiction, I wanted to control everything. I wanted to have my hand on every aspect. And, you know, I learned the hard way that God can do more with our surrender than we can do with our control. And so we find a lot of freedom when we're finally get to that point where we give up control. When we turn our wheels in our lives over to God, we start to find freedom. And so That's the first step. It's turning it over to God. It's saying, hey, I've got this problem. I can't do it by myself. Will you help me? We have to acknowledge that we have a problem. It's kind of like when right before we finally make the decision to go to the ER, it's kind of like, oh man, I've got this injury. I have a broke finger. I need to go to the ER. And it's that same way. We have to make that first admission. We have to say, man, I'm struggling. I need help. For some of us, I'm an alcoholic. I'm a drug addict. I'm a porn addict. I'm struggling with a food addiction. I'm a gambler. Whatever it may be, we have to say, hey, I'm struggling. I need help. And that's where it all begins. And so I hope this has helped you. For those that are new and looking for a path to go, I hope this kind of gives you a little bit of direction. For our old timers, I hope this kind of gives you a refresh and kind of reminds you of where you came from. And we may do more of these. We'll see how this goes. But I was reading this morning, and I figure somebody out there needs to hear a little bit of hope. And so with that, guys, that's all I got. I love y'all, and until next time, y'all be unashamed.